Hello, hello, and welcome back. This is Freedom Friday number 5. This is adventure and global freedom. I'm so excited. This has just been such a wonderful series for me. It's just been incredible for me to just go through this webinar and have people be interested and get the feedback that I've been getting. Just thank you so much to everybody for reaching out and giving me such great positive feedback on all of these different ones. This is number 5, like I said. The other 4 are available on the YouTube channel. All of them, the reason that I picked these 5 topics, these are like the 5 pillars that I see as the key areas for affecting great and significant change in our lives. So if we really want to propel ourselves forward, if we're really looking to make change in any area of our lives, these 5 areas, these 5 topics, these pillars are just hugely significant in helping us toward any goal that we have, any kind of movement forward that we want to do. So the first one was mindset. Everything's been building on mindset. We hear that word all the time. It is a buzzword, of course. If you didn't catch the webinar, make sure you go to the YouTube channel and check it out. Mindset is everything, 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 everything. Mindset, how you look at the world, what you focus on, the words that you say to yourself, all of those things absolutely affect every other area of your life. So mindset was really the foundation. That was the first one in this series, and that was intentional because everything really builds on mindset. We can have the best diet in the world, but if we have a really negative attitude, we're focusing on the wrong things, we're bringing people into our lives who are not a good fit for us, our lives will not be rich and full. So that's just a really small example of how mindset can really, really impact us and even undermine other areas if we're not really uplifting ourselves and focusing intentionally on the direction that we wish to go. And remember, energy is a pattern. So as you're taking this information in, I did these in the first 3, jump around, change your posture, get a power posture going, whatever you need to do to make sure you're pulling this information in. Whenever you're watching anything, whenever you're taking in any kind of information, if you really want to absorb it, change your situation, change your environment, and you'll take it in a little better. So mindset is the stories that we tell ourselves. It's the beliefs that we have. Beliefs are just, somebody said, thoughts that we've told ourselves enough that they become beliefs. I think that might have been Esther Hicks. I can't remember for sure. So, and it's very true, right? Like at some point, we didn't have that thought or belief, but we groomed it over time. So those stories, our beliefs, it's our programming, it's things that other people told us and shared with us. There might be things that we look for evidence for to uphold beliefs and things like that. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Stories and beliefs and programming, they don't have to be bad. They just have to be true. And the issue is, the problem that comes in is that we fall into ruts with our thinking, and what served us in the past, a belief or a story or a program, may not be a fit any longer. It may not serve us anymore in our lives. We get to change those beliefs. We get to change those stories. We get to change the things that we tell ourselves. We even get to change the story of our past, right? I mentioned in an early webinar that in my life I had been housing insecure. Well, that's just one version of my life. I've also been incredibly fortunate with my housing situations in my life, right? So it's all just how we spin it, and it's what we focus on, okay? It's really important that our narrative is something that we know that we have control over. And the reason that we need to control our personal narrative and be mindful, intentional about it, is because it ultimately controls our emotions. You know, where we set our point of focus, the stories that we're telling ourselves and telling others absolutely impacts our emotional state. We want to be coming from a place of joy. Does our story line up with that? If we want to be coming from or going to, you know, freedom, happiness, calm, peace, you know, all of those things, most of us want those kinds of things in our lives. And ultimately you might say, well, sure, Lisa, but I really want money. I really want to be rich, or I really want a partner, or I really want a fancy house. Well, guess what? All of those things equate to happiness, joy, calm, freedom, peace, right? Trust, love, support. So that's really what I'm coming to with all of that. So all of our goals, we want to lose weight because we think it'll make us feel better. right? So our goal is ultimately to feel good, to feel joy, to feel peace. And for me, I've realized all of that equates to feeling free, hence Freedom Friday. I know I've said that before. The second pillar was, I labeled it eating for optimal freedom. It really shouldn't have been eating, it should have been consuming, but that's a little bit of a difficult word. It's really anything that we put into our bodies, right? It affects us chemically. We are physical beings. So even though mindset is everything, we can negatively impact ourselves. We can do a little bit of self-sabotage if we're putting things into our physical body that chemically affect us and pull us down, because our emotions are impacted certainly by the chemicals, our chemicals in our body. So when we feel joy, we're actually creating a chemical reaction in the body in order to feel the joy. So likewise, when we put something into our body that impacts our chemistry that pulls us down, it's exactly the same type of thing. So we can do it with mindset, but we can also undermine it with the things that we consume. So it's just really important to be honest, to be really, really honest with yourself about what am I putting in my body? Is it helping me? Am I feeling better because of it? And and we don't need to go all radical. We don't need to give up every single sweet and every single carb and every single alcohol. And, we don't have to do that unless we really think it's not serving us and that maybe we can't control it. If you're overeating those sweets, or if you're unable to moderate with alcohol, those kinds of things, then perhaps that's the right choice. And that's okay if it brings you joy. Ultimately, your goal is to feel good most of the time. So if the drinking the alcohol, the eating the sweets, the things that you're eating, consuming, you're smoking, if ultimately it's bringing you down, it's feeling heavy to you, maybe you've got the brain fog, maybe you've got actual physical symptoms, but even emotionally speaking, if it's not feeling good to you, then it's definitely time to make a change. Those impacts of food and the things we consume can be immediate, and they can also be long-term. So we want to think about ultimately in the long run, how is that affecting us too? And what we're doing when we're noticing this is, first of all, we're being honest with ourselves. We're being mindful and intentional, and that's huge and great. And many, many people never get there. They never do that. So yay. So good. Celebrate that. And then what we're doing is we're just turning that dial just a smidge, right? It's the steering the tractor. I know I've said this over and over. It's the flying the plane. It's all these things. You've heard other coaches say this too. We're just trying for the long term to get to where we want to be. And so all we need are small incremental changes that last. That's the ticket. So we can have great momentum and feel incredibly motivated to make a huge change, and good, great, go for it. But if it doesn't stick, then just go back to something small and incremental and just keep going and just keep trying and just keep focusing. So if you can do the big, huge, massive change and go from eating cheeseburgers and french fries to having just smoothies or whatever it is you want to do, wonderful. That's unusual, but good, go for it. Good for you. But if you cannot, or if it doesn't stick, if you lose that momentum and you fall back into old patterns, then just try those small incremental changes. Start with one thing, establish a routine, and just keep going. The next pillar that I talked about was authentic self-care. And again, I called it authentic because it's for you. It's unique to you. There are so many things out in the media. 5 ways to do this, 6 ways to feel better, 7 ways to have the perfect day. Okay, you have to choose what's right for you. Not everybody, just like with diet, not everybody should intermittent fast or go keto or go vegetarian or go vegan. Some people, yes, it brings them great joy and they feel wonderful and great. Not everybody. So find what works for you. Same with authentic self-care. What is your routine during the day? What does that look like? Some of us want to bounce out of bed and just hit the floor running and go with our day. Others of us need a couple of hours in the morning to just wake up slow and leisurely and think about our day and maybe have a cup of tea or coffee. And, everybody's different. There is no one size fits all at all. And as I said, it could change in your life. So what worked for you in the past may not always work for you, and it might not work for you in different situations in your life. So as you have changes in your life, you may change your diet. You also may change your self-care routine, okay? So again, it's how do you start your day? Think about these are like the key areas of self-care, true self-care, to really, really set you on a trajectory for success, okay? So how you start the day is really, really big. So whether you bound out of bed or you take your leisurely time, it doesn't matter. As long as you have an intention for the day, are you feeling focused? Are you heading towards that goal? Number one. And then what are you doing for your own health, self-care, self-love, that kind of thing? Are you planning a breakfast ahead of time? Are you making sure that you're doing some kind of movement or an exercise routine or something like that? Are you journaling? Whatever it is for you, whatever the thing is, as long as it's supporting yourself and it's working towards your goals, that's ideal. So that's your morning, starting out the day right. If we start out the day right, we're already so far ahead of the game. I mean, we're just in great shape. Then throughout the day, it's the noticing. It's the noticing of the thoughts that you're thinking, the stories that you're telling yourself, the point of focus that you have. What are you looking at? What are you focusing on? What are those stories in your head? I have a course on how to overcome triggers. So sometimes we get triggered and we get lost in those cyclical thoughts. So I have a course on that to just help you walk through rerouting those thoughts that just get embedded into our brains. Throughout the day, are you breathing? That's me taking a breath right now. I'm just so excited, so I'm just going. Are you breathing? One little tip I gave is when you go to the restroom, whenever you go to the restroom, you're going to go pee at some point during the day, take some deep breaths. That's a great time to just remember to stop and breathe, right? What food are you taking in? Are you planning your meals? Does your day get away from you and you end up at a fast food drive-through because your day is just so crazy? Can you start to plan a little better, like plan ahead, keep some things in your car, whatever your day looks like, And then movement. Are you getting any kind of physical activity? If you work at a desk, can you get up every hour? Even just standing and stretching, whatever you need to do. Or if you stand already at work, can you move around? Can you change your posture so it's not all on your hips and your knees and your back? You can also put phone reminders in, right? So set a little reminder in your phone to breathe, to move, to eat, whatever it is you need to do. Those are just easy, simple tricks we can build into our day. We're always looking at our phones, many of us anyway, so why not use it to our advantage and toward our goals, to help us get toward our goals. Then the evening at the end of your day, that downshift time, that's really critical. There's an awful lot of really successful people that build that into their lives, and it could very well be a huge part of their success, right? So you're downshifting, you're letting the day dissolve behind you, and you're focusing now on the rest and the self-care at the end of the day. And again, looking honestly at how do you downshift? Is it with a cocktail? Fine, great. But is it serving you? So just making sure. Are you, smoking pot? Totally fine if it's serving you, right? So we get into these habits with chemicals that we take into our body. So those are things to look at honestly. And then at the evening, I really do recommend finding some time to find appreciation, anything at all. I've used the example, I think, of my kitty cat several times. I just love how my kitty cats feel. I love the rubbing her belly, and I love how the one Larry, he feels so good next to me when he's purring. Just it doesn't have to be anything huge and enormous and solemn or anything at all. It can just be the really simple things, really simple things in life. And also looking at what went right during the day. Before you shut your eyes, what went right? What was good? What was good about the day? Anything at all. It can just be that a stranger smiled at you, or you picked up a piece of litter. That's totally fine. It's all appreciation. It's all good. And it's you focusing on the things you like, the things that make you feel better, right? And then I like to set an intention for tomorrow. I just like to close my eyes kind of with an intention of what I would like tomorrow. It may change tomorrow. That's fine. But at least I'm being mindful and focused. Okay. And I do have a self-care course coming out in September, so remember to watch for that. I'll talk more about that here, maybe at the end of this. I'm not sure if I will. I'm not sure what my time is right now, actually. I promised you guys always 30 minutes or less, so hopefully I'm within my time. The fourth pillar was the natural world. This is one that I'm really passionate about. I feel really, really strongly about incorporating the natural world into our lives. This is for our benefit, absolutely for our physical wellness, our physical health, our physical bodies. It's incredible for our mental health. It's certainly good for our spiritual health. And it's good for everybody else too, because the more that we revere the earth and the natural world and all the living things on this earth that all work together, it's absolutely a big system, folks. Everything works together. You might not like mosquitoes, but they're somebody else's food. And we need those somebody else's. Like, this is really important. We might not like ticks, but it's somebody else's food. And if we're killing the things that are eating the ticks, then we have a tick problem, right? So those are just insect examples. Certainly we have other issues going on that I won't dwell on, but my point is that everything's interconnected. It's the web of life. We all learn this in, I think, 8th grade science, whatever. It's just so true. And we really have such a disconnect in our first worlds. Many of us do, not everybody, with the natural world and the care that we need to give to the earth and what the earth gives us back and all of the living things on it. It's not our enemy, and Mother Nature is not our enemy. We don't need to control all this stuff. We need to live in balance with the natural world. And the more that we do that, the more ease we bring into our lives, the more that we appreciate the magic and majesty and the just incredible world that we live in. Just the way things grow, and it's just incredible. So just the more that you do it, the more that you focus on it, the more that we revere our natural world. And the more that we revere our natural world, certainly the more that we want to protect that world. And that's a lovely thing. That's a lovely trait. And it's something that we need to do. We need to protect our world. We're at a tipping point for sure. We have a lot of natural disasters that maybe aren't quite so natural happening at a much faster rate. And in more radical degrees. So it's critical that we all really focus on our role in what's happening in the world and just focus on what we love and supporting the earth. And when we give to the earth, when we give care, when we take care of the earth, when we're good citizens, when we recycle and we try to reuse and we buy things that are renewable and we don't overuse our fossil fuels and one-use plastics, that kind of thing, we are giving to others, and we then also benefit from that. We feel good. It's wonderful, wonderful feeling. And there's health benefits, physical benefits, mental, spiritual benefits to giving. I call it volunteering. Again, just picking up that piece of litter, that feels so good. That's wonderful. Every time you go to the beach, pick up 3 pieces, and that feels good. And then other people notice it and then they do it too, So my point is that there's just incredible benefits to us, incredible benefits to the earth, and you make a difference. You can make a difference. You are the difference. You really are. So it's all good. It's all worth it. Every single thing that you do. If you think it's too small, it's not too small. Just do it. Just whatever it is, it's great. Okay, that brings us to travel and adventure. That's today. That's pillar number 5. It's really adventure and global freedom. It does not have to be travel. It doesn't have to be international travel. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be planned months in advance. I'm talking about any kind of adventure that brings you out of your comfort zone and into a state of anticipation and excitement, okay? So some small examples would be like geocaching. So this is like a more obvious one because you're actually hunting for clues, and you have to follow a map maybe, and you have to use your brain, and you have to go find these cool little things. If you don't know what geocaching is, check it out. I guarantee you it's in your part of the world. It's all over the globe, but it's just the coolest thing. And then you're part of this really, really cool geocaching community too. where other people who you may never meet are doing it too, but you get to connect with them in these really cool ways when you go and you find something that was left, and then you get to participate in that and leave your legacy as well. So geocaching is one example of what counts as an adventure that gets you out of your comfort zone and into some excitement. Meetups, there's the great Meetups app. There's so many different ways of doing meetups, and that can always feel a little bit, risky. You don't know what you're going to find. You don't know the people, maybe you don't really know what's going to happen, but absolutely that counts. Other things might be camping. Maybe that's a new thing for you, or hiking, or maybe cooking classes or something like that. So any of those things, they all count as adventure, and it all counts toward global freedom, even if it's just right in your own backyard. Why? Well, one reason is because when we do something that takes us out of our comfort zone, it allows us to tap into our courage, okay? And it familiarizes us with the feeling of courage, okay? So being courageous is something, it's like a muscle to be exercised, right? You have so much to gain if you can pull on that courage within you, if you can tap into that and learn to really utilize that to your advantage. Remember that fear makes us shrink. We feel small. We want to expand. We want to be our greatest selves, like Nelson Mandela said. I'm going back to that. So be great. You can be great. You can be just this expansive person the more that you can tap into your courage. So I just did the airplane camping trip. That took a lot of courage. I got to tell you, I have a fear of heights, as well as this is a really small plane. This plane uses less gas than a car, if that tells you anything. And the doors and the roof are all clear plexiglass, so you can see everything. So if you look down, it's like a glass elevator type thing, right? But it was great. I'm so happy that I did it, and I learned so much about myself. And that's just one example of how we can tap into our courage. And when I came home and I got my feet back on the ground again after all those flights and those takeoffs, and some of them were a little scary. We were pretty close to the treetops a couple times. I felt bigger. I felt bigger and a little better and a little more courageous and a little more whole and a little more complete. And I knew a little more about myself too. So courage is a really cool feeling to tap into. Another reason that embracing adventure is really, really important and good for us is that it lets us tap into our intuition. So when we're trying new things, we're out of our comfort zone, we really don't have anything else to rely on but ourselves, but our own gut, our gut instinct. It's a very, very real thing. Anybody who teaches self-defense will tell you intuition is real and trusting it is huge. And the more that we can exercise our intuition muscle, the better our lives can be. It's also a little bit about letting go. So as much as intuition is within us, to me, it's also a letting go and a trusting. And that's a really nice thing too. So sometimes we just hold on so tight and we just want to control, control, control. And that letting go and trusting and just following your gut and like, what am I feeling right now? Which way do I want to go? Can I take this train? Is this the right thing? Is this meetup feel safe? All these different things. The more that you do that, the more you'll be able to tap into your intuition and the more strength that you get, really. I mean, it's just ultimately it. So right now I'm in the midst of a big move in my life. So I told you I had one story is housing insecurity. Well, here I go again. I'm selling my house and I don't yet know where I'm going to live. The housing market here in America is challenging, to say the least. There are very few rentals and there are fewer houses to buy. And I don't know where I want to be yet. So I don't really want to buy a house again. I want to rent somewhere and just try out some different towns and cities. But I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, which also makes it very difficult to rent. So I am having to really trust my intuition. The house, I have a closing date. I'm packing up my house. I'm getting ready for a big sale. I'm just moving everything out. And I fully 100% believe and trust that it's going to work out just fine. So to be continued on that. But this has been a wonderful lesson for me in trusting and trusting my gut and knowing that I'm choosing the right thing, because it's time for me to move. It's time to go. And the right living situation is going to come along for me. So this is a big, big, big adventure that's taken an awful lot of courage and really, really having me tap into my my trust factor, right? Just to know that things are going to go well for me, because I know that this is going to bring me more joy in life, right? It's the right direction to go. So we gain great strength with adventure. We learn about ourselves. I say a lot, dig deep, be brave. That's what adventure does for us. Excuse me. Those are really important things. The braver we can be, the deeper we can dig and find truths about ourselves and grow and expand. And we can learn what we're capable of. That's a really big thing, and that's a really exciting thing. It doesn't stop. It doesn't matter how old you get. There's always more to learn about yourself, because you're always changing and growing and shifting, and the world around you is as well. We also get to learn our boundaries, and that's a good thing to know. You may find that you're doing some adventure thing, and you just really don't like it. It doesn't feel good to you, or you like it, but you would like it a lot better if this other thing was met. And those are really important things to know about yourself too. So I would just go and travel, and I would just go to Europe on my own, alone, without a lot of money ever. And I would just, kind of like go through like a bull, like I'm doing this, because I wanted to go to Europe so badly. And the last time that I went was about 5 years ago. And I was older, of course, because I wasn't younger anymore. And it was a challenge for me, and I loved it. And I'm really happy that I went. I got to see my exchange girls in each of their cities and see where they lived and see how they lived. But I traveled alone, and I was taking the trains, and the public transportation in Europe is wonderful, but I didn't speak the language and I couldn't read the language, and there were a lot of changes to the schedule. And I realized at some point during that trip that I love international travel, but I don't want to do it on my own anymore. I just want to do it with somebody else. Just having somebody else with me would have given me just that little bit of extra oomph, for my trip. I realized it, and it really has held true for me. And now I have in my life a person who feels exactly the same way. He has done a ton of traveling on his own, and he just doesn't want to do it alone anymore. And so now we have each other. So those are lovely, lovely things to learn about ourselves. And it doesn't mean that I failed. It doesn't mean that my trips weren't successful. It means that I learned more about myself, and I learned a really important thing. And it's just simply that I want a partner to do these things with. And you know what? That's a good thing to learn. That's okay to learn. So adventure, travel, it exposes us to new possibility. It opens us up to new paradigms. And remember, when we open to new things, just like being in nature, it lets our imagination go. It lets us be creative. We need creativity in our lives. We need creativity in this world. They're so good for us. It's so good for us to see possibilities, just breaking down paradigms. I remember one time I was on this road trip. I was really young. I mean, I was probably, 17, 18 years old. And we had brought bread and peanut butter and jelly with us way back when. Well, we got to a roadside park, and we were going to make our sandwiches, and we didn't have anything to spread the peanut butter with. And I remember, this just seems so small, but I remember it was kind of mind-blowing. I had to scoop my finger in the peanut butter and spread it on my bread that way. But you know what? It worked. We found the solution. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to have a knife. Like I said, it's really a small thing, but it's just about thinking about things different. And when you don't move out of your comfort zone, you never get to figure out what tools you have available to you that you can always get by, and you can make things work, and you can have wonderful memories, and you get to eat your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches no matter what, right? Another really important thing about travel and adventure is that it exposes us to others. It exposes us to others who are different than us very often. It doesn't have to be, again, international travel. It can just be regional. It can even just be people who have different interests that you maybe haven't explored before. And what that does, quite frankly and transparently, is it builds tolerance. It builds our tolerance of differences toward others. And one of the most lovely things about being exposed to people who are different than us or have different beliefs or cultures or interests um, is that we learn that we are all human. We're all human, and that we all share essentially the same things. We love our families, we love our loved ones, we have hopes, we have dreams. You know, we're all one and the same all over this entire beautiful, beautiful earth. And I think that's a really important piece to adventure. And that's why I call it global freedom, because the more that you can embrace differences and the more that you can embrace others, the freer you are. And the more that you can do that on a global perspective, the more expansive you become and more possibilities are open to you. And your life can be just endlessly, unimaginably wonderful, right? Like there can be things that you will invite into your world just by being open that you maybe can't even fathom right now. So I've posted Exchange Girls, I've mentioned that, I think, and that's one of the big reasons that I did it. I wanted to learn from them, learn their cultures, learn the differences, and also expose them to ours, right? So there's lots of different ways that we can do that. So having my Exchange Girls was absolutely an adventure. It was just a wonderful, wonderful adventure. And I didn't leave my home. They came to me. So different ways of building adventure in, right? So I mentioned, I think in the last webinar too, my big umbrella statement is my hope, my goal as a person, as a coach, as a mom, as a woman, is that I hope that I help many, many hundreds of thousands of people be kinder to themselves and to other living things. So adventure and travel does that for us, right? It helps us be kinder to ourselves. We're giving ourselves the beauty of new possibilities and creativity. And it also helps us, as I said, build tolerance and be kinder to others, as well as maybe other things that other cultures revere, other living things. We all need plants, we all need earth, we all need animals, we all need insects, right? So that's where all this is coming from, folks. So that's what I have for you today. So be brave, dig deep, and thank you, thank you, thank you for this wonderful experience. It's been so great. Like I said, please keep the comments coming. I just loved it. Stay tuned for my Authentic Self-Care course that's September 2021 coming out. Got the mindset course, we've got the triggers course, I've got a couple others. And if you're not sure where to start, just reach out today and I can help you sort through that. Today is the day. Just give yourself the greatest gift of your life and use the link below. You can book a session. You can just email me. I'm happy to work with you however you're most comfortable. It doesn't matter at all. But I wish you all great joy and health and freedom. So take care, everybody.